Yo, what is going on? I'm Marcus, and here we talk attorney reactions to current events and trending news. As always, I'm grateful for you all tuning in and supporting the channel. In this video, we are going to dive into the top 5 things that I myself want to see in Lori Lightfoot's final investigative report. I mean, I've been doing this for a while. I've been a defense attorney, I've been a prosecutor, I've been an investigative attorney investigating white collar crimes. But there are some things we need to see to determine, let's just keep it a buck, if the findings of this final report have been worth the what, $400 an hour that Lori Lightfoot got paid. Now, before we dive in, if you get some value out of this content, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, and interact. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, let's talk a little bit about her preliminary investigation. And preliminary investigations are common. Normally, you get some piece of evidence, whether it's a complaint, whether it's a whistleblower, whether it's some data points that identify anomaly for investigators to start to pull at and dive into. But preliminary investigations are solely for the purpose of finding out, one, if there is a credible allegation of fraud. So we get a referral, we get a whistleblower, we find some data that shows something shady, we do a preliminary investigation, and we kind of get more granularity that, yo, something shady did go on. Now we have a credible allegation of fraud that we can dive wholeheartedly into and investigate. So, the top 5 things that I need to see to make sure that this investigation was worth the probably tens of thousands of dollars that were spent in paying Lori Lightfoot $400 an hour. Number 5 is, was Tiffany Henyard provided a copy of this final report before it's released to the public? I know what y'all thinking. Why the hell would Lori Lightfoot provide Tiffany Henyard a copy? Well, this is actually commonplace, especially in local and state government. If you have an IG's office, inspector general, or an attorney general investigating a mayor or a council member, oftentimes they provide them a copy of the final report before it's released to the public. Now, this is done for one of 2 reasons. One is good, the other one is goofy shit. The good reason is we're providing you a copy of this final report just so you have visibility of what we're about to hit you over the head with. That's what it should be. Oftentimes, what it is, hey, mayor, governor, we're investigating you. And as the IG, I may have been appointed by you. So I'm going to give you a copy of this report so you can look at it and let me know if you see any language massaging that you want to do to make it more palatable before we release it to the public. Hopefully, it's not that. Hopefully, it's the former and not the latter. That's number 5. Number 4, I need the details. Lori Lightfoot's preliminary investigation really told us what we already knew, that money was an issue, that it was being spent inappropriately. All she did was tell us where it was being spent, but not the details. And a final report of investigation needs to have specificity. I need to know it was spent where. I needed to know it was spent on what. I need to know what cards was used to make that purchase. I need to know who the authorizing person was for that card. That's number 4. You need to provide the details because we're going to talk a little bit later on about where this investigative report needs to go, if it was done right or if it was done correctly or if it was done well. And I'm going to give Lori Lightfoot the benefit of the doubt. Hey, I know a lot of people complain about her when she was the mayor, but she was a federal prosecutor for a long time. So I think this is stuff that she should know how to do. But remember, one of the things that I said may be a problem, it may cause this investigative final report to lack details. Lori Lightfoot does not have any subpoena power. So, what reason is there for Tiffany Henyard and her staff to provide Lori Lightfoot with any information when they don't have to? Now, they could have potentially went to another source and could also let the investigators know that, hey, this person was cooperative, but without any subpoena power, you're like a saber-toothed tiger without any teeth. It's kind of, gummy bear action on some gummy shit. Like you ain't really got no bite. So let's see what the details are. Okay, number 3 is a spinoff of number 4. You need to identify who are the other parties involved. For the level of misappropriation of funds that it appears have gone on over the years in the village of Dalton, even in the Thornton Township. Let's just talk generally across the board. Lori Lightfoot, you need to let us know who were the players involved. There is no way that Tiffany Henyard misappropriated this much money and did it unilaterally on her own. So I'm expecting to see who I probably already know. You may see, I don't know, you may see any of the persons who she had in her inner circle at some point, but you have to be able to identify the people involved in this. If you can't, this report, final report of investigation, is essentially worthless. Okay, here's an example. A card was used to make a purchase at Walmart, Amazon, I mean, for $40,000. We need to know the purchase was made at Amazon for $40,000. We need to know what was purchased that cost $40,000. We need to know who was the person in the position to authorize that purchase, who was the individual assigned to the card, where did those goods get delivered to? Did they go to someone's personal address? Did they go to a government entity address? Once they got to that address and they were delivered, was it something that needed to be signed for? If it was Amazon, probably not anything that needed to be signed for. And where did those items go after they were delivered? If it was me, I'm guessing $40,000 of stuff from Amazon. Some of it probably went into somebody's home, and some of it probably went to the Big Bingo giveaway, if I had to guess. But we need to be able to identify the persons. If we can't identify the third parties involved, you're just telling us stuff that we already know about Tiffany Henyard. She's doing a lot of spending, but you aren't tying up all the loose ends to clarify the picture as to what really went down. Okay. Number two, and I would like to think that she is doing this as a former federal prosecutor, but I don't know because she's presenting it to municipality board trustees. But every investigative report should be written in a way that include elements to criminal offenses. Essentially, what that means is if I'm investigating you, once I complete my preliminary investigation, I move on to my final investigation. Once everything is corroborated and substantiated, in that final investigative report, I am going to have findings that says, based on all of the facts that we have before you, we can charge Tiffany Henyard with the following state and federal offenses. And then we would list them out. Honest services fraud. Tiffany Henyard is guilty of honest services fraud because she maintained a position within the municipality where she had a fiduciary duty to the township, to the village, to the municipality itself. She was found to have breached that when she authorized an unlawful purchase on a credit card that was done by trustee XYZ on this date for this particular item. And she received a kickback because of the goods that were purchased. A small portion of them were used for big bingo prizes. The remainder of the items purchased went to Tiffany Henyard herself. That's an example, but that is how you would lay it out. Now, the number one thing that I need to know and need to see in this report, it has to be written up that way that we just discussed with the crimes that she could potentially be charged with based on this findings of investigation. Because the number one thing that I need to know is, are you referring this report to an investigative body that has the ability to prosecute Tiffany Henyard? Is this going to the state attorney general's office? Are you going to carry it over to the U.S. attorney's office to bolster their case? The end result of this has to be a rightful outcome for the people in the village. I know for a fact one thing that she's not going to do is get up and say my preliminary findings were wrong and Tiffany Henyard didn't do anything. No, that's not going to happen. So, hey, this is what we're looking for. Did you provide Tiffany Henyard notice, and was the notice so she can massage the language, or just so she has notice? I think it's going to be just so she has notice. Next is going to be, what are the details? You were missing a lot of details, and you essentially told us in the preliminary report everything that we already knew. You just told us where money was spent, but not on what, not who authorized it, not who authorized the card, not where the goods were delivered. 3, identify the third parties who are involved. You got to let us know who did what and when, who had authority to do what, where were these items delivered to, if it was a personal address, whose personal address is this, whose domicile is this. Two, did Lightfoot list out the criminal elements that she can be charged with, since we have all the facts? And if we have the facts that I'm talking about, we need to see if it's some generic shit like we saw the first time, it's probably not going to fly. And the last thing is, are you going to refer this matter to a federal or state body who has the ability to prosecute Tiffany Henyard? The answer to that should be yes. If the answer is no, what the hell was the point of doing all this and paying Lori Lightfoot $400 an hour? That's my takeaway. That's the 5 things I want to see on this report. I do plan and intend on doing an actual live stream as the report is being written. I know I don't normally do that because the shit drives me crazy because it's so long, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to shut up, let Lori Lightfoot do her thing. And for the folks who can hang in the game, we may talk about it on the back end. As always, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And for the folks who are watching this, hey, check out the content on the screen. There's going to be more content related to attorney reactions.